It's September, Luke, and you know what that means. It's 4 days until it's September at the time of this video coming out, which you know what that means. It's actually 2 days away until September after the day it comes out. Or is there a 31st in August?
There is, yeah.
I'll try that one more time. Well, Luke, it's August, and that means it's time for us to talk about some video game. How are you feeling today? Drinking a nice tasty rain? I've got myself a Hansen.
Oh, it's so good. I love rains. It's good. Baby is, I mean,
Already
it's crazy
two?
to think about, but baby is due pretty much in almost exactly a week, September 5th. We keep thinking he's going to pop early, but we've been thinking that for the last few weeks. So at this point, I'm thinking he'll just go the distance. We'll see, though. Who knows? I did shave. I shaved. Nikki was like, I will birth the baby if you shave your face. And I was like, you know what? I can't really argue with that. Oh no, I have to shave. She's got to squeeze a watermelon out of a place that watermelons don't come from. So,
And knowing the size of your head, that thing, you know.
she's in for a ride. Yeah, no, I got a big head and shoulders. When I was born, my shoulder, my like shoulders both dislocated. So I came out doing like Thriller because they were so wide. Um, I also the story didn't really make sense when my mom told it to me. I think the doctor was just really rough with me when I was
Well, I
born. So
mean,
that's
well,
more of what
first
it
of
was.
all, our mom's an idiot, so like an absolute moron.
Jesus. Well, first of all,
First of all, that
that's where
idiot
you're
doesn't know
starting.
shit. No, I'm kidding. I love mom.
Yeah, she's so funny.
But what a moron sometimes. I didn't even get to be born. I got cut
Yeah,
out of there.
you got cut out of there.
I got cut and lifted.
Mm, nice.
Yeah. Like I lifted out by a claw machine, which is a game. Which video game? Kind of. Video game. Some video game stuff is happening. We'll stop talking about our mother and how stupid she is.
Zip zap zoom.
Today, we've got some great pieces of information. Not quite as much has been in the last couple of weeks. Big game releases. One comes to mind Psychonauts 2.
Yeah.
Adore it. Absolutely love it. Haven't beaten it yet. Will most likely have beaten it by the time this video comes out. So if you're planning on posting spoilers in the comments, as a joke, just
Jokes on
spoil
you.
Harry Potter. I haven't seen Harry Potter yet. If you wanna get me, if you wanna trick me, make me feel sad. Are there any
Yeah.
spoilers to Harry Potter? Are there any big twists and
Oh yeah.
turns?
Oh yeah. No, there was an entire internet historian video on what was going down when the final book was released, because like the final book released and then the film came out sometime after that. So um and there's like a huge twist that ties all of the books and movies together in a way that's like legit, that actually makes sense. And then they go back and show flashbacks of all of the like past movies and certain dialogue spoken by certain characters, and all of a sudden it all makes sense. And it's really well done. Like honestly, one of the best twists I think in most
The whole
modern
world was held just
storytelling.
inside of Dobby's little mind.
Yeah,
He thought
exactly.
them all up. He's the most powerful wizard.
It's funny just because like people give J.K. Rowling a lot of shit, deserves most of it, you know. Um, but she one of the things she received a lot of crap for was that she was just kind of flying by the seat of her pants. She had a few ideas for how she wanted things to go in the story, but you could tell she was like going back and making things up and filling in the gaps to make plot twists work a little bit better. Often not super egregious, but it got more egregious once the series ended. And she's like, actually, Hermione was in a wheelchair the whole time, and
Yeah.
Dumbledore is gay. And it's like,
If you
okay.
had if you had written that from the beginning, no problems with it whatsoever. But the fact that you're changing it at the end is goofy as hell. It makes you look silly, which is why
Well,
I think people should like pseudo chart out what they're working on very roughly. Like very, because I mean, like Breaking Bad, it's one of I think both of our favorite shows of all time, at least one of them. And that show kind of had the same vibe to it, where it was kind of made up as it went along, but you can kind of tell that there was at least some direction with it, with at least per character, where you like how Walter White's going to kind of turn out, how like it makes sense for each character as you're going down the line.
Well, it
Like,
worked because there was an arc, and they knew the arc. With Harry Potter, I think she knew what the. I mean, obviously, like he's gonna eventually reach grown age, graduating from Hogwarts, and then he'll have to deal with Voldemort. But everything else, kind of, you can fill in the gaps, and there's a lot to fill in the gaps with. But for her, I think the biggest issue is that everything she's retroactively changed or revealed is almost purely for sake of pandering, which is funny because the fact that she's been canceled largely, or people are trying to cancel her, just goes to show that you can't satisfy or really like, yeah, I don't know, you're never going to satiate the mob by simping to them and by pandering, because they'll just take what you give them and then want more. So like there was the really funny one where somebody tweeted at her asking, quote, I just Googled it. My wife said there are no Jews at Hogwarts.
oh
I'm a
yeah.
Jew, so I assume she said it to be the only magical one in the family. Thoughts, JK? Then JK responded, Anthony Goldstein, Ravenclaw, Jewish wizard. So she, like, cool, there are Jewish wizards, but
You
she
could have
just
just
happened
said
to pick like
yes.
the
You didn't have
most
to.
Jewish name ever.
Yeah.
Uh, it
That's
was
one I know very much about. That one always cracks me up because it's like it's really because you could have just said yeah, yeah. Of course, there's Jews. If they didn't show up in the books, they didn't show up in the books. My bad. Like, but yeah, there's Jew. There's all wizards. There's all sorts of wizards.
yeah,
Like you could have said that.
like the one Asian wizard, Cho Chow or whatever her name is.
Just if you're in that situation, just be like, "What are you stupid?" Of course, it's like a big university. Of course, there's not only possibilities in the future of them being, but there have been in the past. They just didn't show up in the books. It's like, oh, my bad if that makes me a bad person for not having the specific race of wizard that you wanted.
Yeah,
Oopsie. But
Cho
enough
Chang.
about wizards.
Sorry,
I'm
sorry.
done with wizards. Wizards sicken me. But you know what doesn't sicken
Yeah.
me is George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones. Because I've never seen it and have no nostalgia for it. But he's helping to work on the world building for a game. And as reported by Jason Schreier, actually, I believe, I don't know if it was reported by him or if he just retweeted it, George R.R. Martin didn't actually deal with much of the dialogue in the game. Which then Jason Schreier went on to joke about is why it's actually coming out, because George R.R. Martin is 700 pounds and can only type 4 words a minute, and is probably that's the only thing I can assume.
I think they're still waiting on the last book in Game of
They
Thrones.
they are, which is why it's not like I don't want to be like, oh, fat jokes or anything like that, but like he's a big guy, he's a talented guy, he's a smart guy, like. He probably can type really, really fast, but he's getting up in years.
But that's the point. I don't think it's a matter of how fast he types. I think he's just restarted it 15 times. And I think when Game of Thrones and the ending was so dissatisfactory, he said that there were 2 routes they were going to go for the endings, one of 2. They chose to go one, and that's what ended up in the show. And he was like, he low-key said, if it was really well received, I would just release a book with that ending, but a little more fleshed out. Horrific ending. People hated it. And so now he's left only with this other one, but I think there were a lot of issues with that other one. So he's rewriting, trying to find a way to save it. And to some extent, when you've been working on a project super long and there's a lot of hype and expectation around it, it's almost better to just like not. Like, who knows if you're ever going to satisfy the hype? So he just hasn't.
Did he accidentally
touched
eat
it.
his second draft?
No. Uh,
That's a horrible joke, but that for some reason kills me.
I saw you smirking. Like he's
He like gets mistaken. He's like eating a slice of pizza and accidentally takes a big bite out of it.
no.
No! All my work. No. George
I'll
just
just tell them I'm working really hard.
George just reprinted. It was written by hand. It's why it tastes so good. It's homemade stuff's
Right.
always best.
The lead tastes good.
Oh
Yeah.
fuck! We love George
Anyway,
R. R.
so
Martin here.
Elden Ring. Yeah. I mean, I think largely the idea. So they announced this, and I think they started working on it right before Game of Thrones and all of the crap that happened with that ending. So I think Hidetaka Miyazaki probably has had a couple meetings with George R. R. Martin, and Martin was like, "Yeah, I like the idea of doing this with a world, and then maybe you have this, and then there's a ring that was forged by these people, and then that has power, blah blah blah." And then they had him sign a piece of paper, and now they can use him in the advertising campaigns. I don't think he has had very much influence on the game at all.
He's probably just
I
a
think,
concept guy. Like,
yeah,
well, let's just set
I
up the
think they
world.
probably had a conversation or two. He like looked over some concept art and said, "Yeah, that looks good," and then went about his day. So I don't know. I'm not. If you're hyped for Elden Ring because George R. R. Martin is working on it, reevaluate because I don't think it's gonna. I don't think that's what this game is supposed to be. People loved Game of Thrones for the character development, the growth, and the character arcs. That is not what From Software does at all. People were giving them crap because apparently Miyazaki's writing most of the dialogue. From Software games have never been about dialogue. Like you might have one boss go like, "I've waited and now redemption," and like that's it. It's like a really clunky translation from the Japanese, but it doesn't matter because that's not what the games are about.
Yeah.
So I just don't think you should play this game because George R. R. Martin is involved. Because for one, Game of Thrones is not a world that's particularly like unique in terms of theming, style, visuals, things that From Software games will benefit from. And I think it's more a marketing ploy. But
A good marketing ploy at that, because some people who would never play a From Software game might jump on it because George R. R. Martin's name's on it, and then
yeah,
immediately
and
hate it because it's too
frantically
hard.
quit. Yeah, because they're like, wait, this sucks and it's not narrative at all. So
But
they're
guess
working on
what?
that.
We already got your money, bitch. It's too
Yep,
late.
gotcha, bitch. The next thing that we should touch on is I tweeted this out. Naughty Dog Jobs, which is their handle on Twitter,
Uh-oh.
they put out a request saying, quote, Naughty Dog is hiring across multiple disciplines for the studio's first standalone multiplayer game. Now, there's been a lot of rumors. We talked about this last week. Some data mining found like different variants of armor and backpacks and weaponry and a very large map. So people have suggested we could possibly see a Naughty Dog Last of Us Battle Royale that uses the gameplay from The Last of Us Part 2, but puts it in the context of a more stealthy Battle Royale where like noise that you make is much more important because not just players will hear you, but also the infected. I think it could be really cool, and the gameplay in The Last of Us Part 2 is phenomenal. So if they can get this working, I think it would be fantastic, especially if they do it exclusive to the PS5. Which at this point in the now current generation, I think they have to. If they come out with this and it releases next year, like mid to late next year, and they're also putting it out for the PS4, I think it'll be horrifically disappointing. But that's kind of cool. So they're actually doing a standalone multiplayer game.
It's neat. I hope it's in a whole new world, like Jack and Daxter's world or Crash Bandicoot. I know those aren't new worlds, but I just like the idea of like really cartoony characters with guns fighting and killing each other. Like imagine if they were able to import, their awesome slashing gore system. It's like Crash Bandicoot Battle Royale.
You want a really gory Jack and Daxter game?
Yeah, Jack and Daxter, Crash Bandicoot, maybe a whole new. That would be fun. That's like a dream of mine. It's like an overly
You have told
gory.
us about the like super gory cartoony games.
Yeah, I would love something like that. But like 3D, like they have that like really realistic like shine to them, and they're like walking through. It's like gritty cartoon characters, and they're just getting exploded. I'd be down for that. Like Conkers, except extra Conkers. Call it Conkers Extra Conkers.
Conkers, gonkers, gone gonkers.
Conkers
Uh,
gone bonkers. That's a free one
yeah,
for you,
there it is.
Rareware. Haha.
Yeah, take it. So yeah, that's happening. We'll see what that is. People are assuming it's The Last of Us because on the job posting they put a picture of The Last of Us
Yeah.
like behind the text. So it could just be that that's their latest game, so that's what they used, or it could be that they're saying this is going to be in that franchise. Who knows? I mean, I think if they weren't, they could have just done like a gray background and it would have achieved the same thing, but who knows? Maybe
Hey
we'll just
man, they put Joel in that trailer for The Last of Us Part 2.
They did. They
So,
did.
could be a
That
bit.
still weirds me out. I'm like,
I,
just odd.
I love
Um,
that so much that they did that. I think more companies should do that. I think movies should do that even when it doesn't matter. Like rom-coms should release fake trailers where like they think the guy's like dating the girl's grandma or something like that, or like an odd edit of it to make it
well,
look like something else.
the whole concept of trailers is really odd to me because it's like, yeah, you want to see the product before you buy it. You want to see what it's going to be. But so many trailers just end up spoiling the whole game and the story, everything you do in the trailer. Like that's the joke about some of these movies that you see, or the trailers when you see it at the movies, where you feel like you watch the entire film over the course of a 2 minute trailer. Um, and with some of these trailers, I'm also like, you know what? I think we're good. Like we know what's there. But Naughty Dog has lied many times or been deceptive, tricky with their trailers before. Like in the during the press tour for the first Last of Us game, they said many, many times, you only play as Joel. This is Joel's story. Don't expect to play as Ellie. You'll be disappointed. Even though, of course, you do. And it was because that moment when you're stranded and then you start playing as Ellie was like a major revelation and very important. So who knows? You
Who
gotta be,
knows?
not every studio can do that though, because if you aren't Naughty Dog,
If you're not really, really good at making games and stories,
yeah,
if you're Ubisoft and like you're playing all these tricks and whatnot on people with like Juan Carlo Esposito in Far Cry 6, and then you get into the game and it's, a Ubisoft game and it sucks. I don't know. I like how Far Cry 6 looks for right now though. It's
mm,
given me a little bit of hope, but I've nearly lost all hope because I was made almost a promise, like many people, because I am a guilty pleasure of mine is those horrible Madden football games that I've been playing since I was like 5 or 6,
yeah,
and for some reason this year, after hating them just so much for the last like 4 or 5 years, they were like, guys, this time we got it figured out. And that game came out and it is so fucking terrible that I don't think I ever want to buy anything EA makes again. I think I'm just like, I'm nearly done with that company. But they have Respawn. And I really love Respawn and everyone on that team.
they gotta just keep letting them do what they want to do.
Just let
Because
let Respawn be your Naughty Dog and let every other studio there, because I'm sure those studios are filled with talented people. The Madden studio at this point, I have no doubt that they're all hacks. It sucks so bad. I don't.
well,
It's
the amazing
horrible.
thing is that they just don't have to try. Like I've talked about this a lot, where I know it's weird for us because we're in the gaming industry. Like we keep on every release, we're watching for them, we're excited for them. We play many games over the course of a year. But on a purely statistical level, the overwhelming majority of people who play video games are the types of people that buy one or two games and that's it. They play FIFA and maybe Call of Duty, or they play Call of Duty and Madden, and that's all they do. Day in, day out, that's it. And so for us, we look at it, and if the latest Call of Duty sucks, oh well, we'll just move on. But like for some of these people, all their friends are playing that. All of their friends play Madden in the dorms, or if they're overseas on deployment, they all play Madden together. So you just like you're gonna buy the newest one. That's what you do. And if it sucks, so oh well, that's what we're buying this year. Get over it. And they count on it. They rely on it, and it's too bad because they get away with a lot of stuff that they wouldn't get away with if it weren't branded directly through the NFL. But football fans, sports fans are crazy committed and dedicated. I've tried my whole life to stay away from sports because it makes people like so bizarrely tribalistic, and I hate
It is
tribalistic
weird,
behavior.
and that was something because I went back to college this week,
Mhm.
and my archaeology teacher actually compared American football to like a bunch of different rituals he had witnessed where like people get like overly excited and irrational. And it's like that's basically our equivalent of it, except it's like 10 times the scale as anything you would see like 400 years ago, 200 years ago, or even
Yep.
100 years ago. And that kind of clicked in my head a lot because good god, do people not care? Like you want for every person that complains about one of those games and then still pays $60 for it, like you've lost your right to complain. It's gone at that point. You've thrown it out the window. You've bought the thing. You're supporting it. Just at that point, give up. Accept the fact that you like this horrible thing. You can't.
It's
Don't
terrible.
complain
No
about it.
talent.
No talent. You
No
have
talent.
nothing. I like Bob Dylan on stage. Who the fuck are you? No talent.
No respect for the blank canvas that is silent.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
That's a great line. That's how
There's
that's how I feel about these fucks complaining. It's the same with Ubisoft where they're like, Ubisoft has to shape up. I just played 250 hours of Valhalla and didn't like a second of it. It's like, what? Don't
yeah.
do that, man. Do
Yeah.
play something
And I
else.
bought 15 skins and all that. Like I was very transparent from like day one. They sent me Valhalla, very generous of Ubisoft. Collector's edition. I appreciate that very much. They've been very good to me. The fact that I spent 3 hours ripping it a new asshole, I think should be indicative pretty clearly that you can't buy my loyalty with like review copies and collector's editions. I've liked a lot of stuff Ubisoft has done. Really disliked some of the other stuff they've done. And Valhalla is just a totally baffling case where almost every design element just doesn't make any sense at all. The only explanation I can come up with is that it was all COVID related and they had to start cutting stuff and restricting stuff for sake of getting the game out. But even that, like I don't even know if that's justifiable because the majority of the game's core design happens in the first couple of years, and then the last year or so is just filling it with extra side content and finishing levels and double checking everything, polish, all of that. And COVID only counts for the last like 7, 8 months of the game's development. So it doesn't even really make sense then. So I think it was just they tried to experiment with like 15 different game mechanics and none of the experiments paid off at all. Um, but I was transparent. I said, I hate this game. I really don't enjoy playing it. If you guys really want a video, I'll do it. People were like, we really want a video. So I said, screw it. Fine. Took me a long time to get it out, but we're here.
And I think for at least for Ubisoft's sake, at least they're kind of trying things because Odyssey, I kind of dug Odyssey. I think a lot of people did. I think like most people, the Assassin's Creed branding at this point has fucking lost all meaning, and it
Well,
doesn't really matter.
the other thing that I'm still baffled and kind of frustrated that it didn't get enough attention. Watch Dogs Legion, that NPC system is incredible. Like
Oh, it's
getting
awesome.
that working is freakishly impressive. And that's what I think the future of these open world games needs to be like, because you're going to need, like, we were playing Grand Theft Auto 5 on stream the other day, and we were asking, like, what is the natural evolution of this? What's GTA 6 supposed to look like? And I think the reasonable conclusion is now, 2 generations of consoles later, what makes sense is a world where you can explore everything. So every skyscraper, you can go inside, you can take the elevator to whatever floor you want. You can go in there. It's all living, breathing. Every NPC has a routine, a schedule, an apartment that they live in, a car that they drive, everything. And that's why, like, Todd Howard has spoken a lot about how he thinks that the next generation of open world games, and he was talking about Elder Scrolls 6 at the time, is heavily reliant on AI and increasing the quality of NPC interactions and thoughts. And that's where you need to go, because that's going to make these worlds feel more alive. You can make them look very fantastic visually with ray tracing, all of that. But as we learned with Cyberpunk, you can ray trace to hell and back and get beautiful screenshots. But if the world isn't actually alive and if the characters aren't smart enough, it feels dead and your brain checks out immediately. So, um, Watch Dogs Legion, I think, was the first step towards that. And that tech, I found the tech amazing. The game that was built around it to justify the creation of that tech had some issues, but it was like when you see a super ambitious technical demo and you're like, wow, that's incredible. I don't know if you can make an entire game out of just this, but what's there is freakishly impressive. But I digress. In other news, things that are kind of like, okay, Saints Row reboot is happening.
Yeah. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding. I don't think anyone gives a shit about Saints Row anymore, especially this version of Saints Row. I checked it out right before we started talking today, and it looks like garbage. I hate everything about it. I'm
it's
hopeful.
really, yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of really negative reaction to um the announcement. People, I mean, I think the overwhelming majority of likes and dislikes on the announcement trailer, it's all dislikes. It's like when I last checked, it was like 18,000 dislikes to 12,000 likes or something. And I tried to figure out what that could be and why people were freaking out. And so I watched the trailer back, and I think more than anything, it just comes off as very cookie cutter, very
it, it
standard
it looks
AAA
like a
commercial.
Ubisoft game. Is the
The
main thing.
characters, yeah, all the characters look very very Watch Dogs, very Ubisoft. Um, there's just something about them where they don't really look super realistic. It's just like meh. And the setting, all of the art, it's not anything that really jumps out at you. And for me, like, the last Saints Row games I played were like 3 and 4. I think it would be like the crazy one with aliens and superpowers and all that. So that's where I'm coming from. And then to see this, where everybody just looks like they're dressed as hipsters. Watch Dogs 2, people gave Ubisoft a lot of crap for it because they were like, oh, well, it just seems like you're trying to have all of these like metrosexual hipster characters because you think that's what we find cool or like really interesting and edgy. But if you go to the Saints Row Welcome to Santo Ileso trailer and you go to 2 minutes 45 seconds in, this screenshot shows you exactly why people are like, what the hell are we doing? You're
The
in a
one of them
desert.
sleeping in the car. I don't even see what you're talking about. Saints Row.
No,
Welcome to what? Welcome to Flabba
welcome to
Babo.
Santo Ileso trailer.
Welcome to Santo. That's a good name. At least I'll give him that. I love that name.
Ileso. Saint Ileso. Um, two
Two
minutes 47 seconds in.
two
You
minutes.
have you're in a desert presumably very hot, very rural.
Oh Christ.
And you have some pictures walking with like on the left, it looks to be a woman who is they're all carrying guns, so whatever. But she's got like a pretty intense hoodie on, a bizarre belt buckle, and a t-shirt. And then the chick next to her is wearing sweatpants and then like a really tight form-fitting shirt. And then the one next to her is like a ripped metrosexual dude wearing a fanny pack, a bracelet, and then neon pink headphones.
Oh, and
And it just,
if you actually look at it on the GameSpot version of the trailer, the game listed is Grand Theft Auto 5 as the game shown in the trailer. So
they
uh,
can't tell the difference.
I guess we see. Yeah, this is. My God, Rockstar's back.
Yeah, Rockstar's
There's
back, man.
we should say there's nothing wrong with having characters with this kind of style, like presentation wise. I don't think there's any problem with that. It's the character development that matters most, and this game looks just so flat and boring, just from a point of concept. It's borderline like PlayStation 2 era kind of like setting and stuff. I don't know why I get that vibe. Something's triggering inside my head that's making me think of PlayStation 2 whenever I see like the world they've set up. There has to be like some open world game set in like Arizona or something I was playing back then. Maybe it was Destroy All Humans. I can barely. There's something about this world that feels like PlayStation 2. It
Well,
doesn't look PlayStation 2.
I was trying to figure out why the characters look so lackluster to me. And like I don't think it's that graphically like the faces have any major issues. Quality of the rendering engine looks fine. But what I realized is like because they went for this hipster style, which is no style, they just like all of the characters, excuse me, all of the characters and all of the outfits look as though they were made in like a quick character outfit selection screen, like you have in
Oh, that's
Watch
probably
Dogs.
what it is.
And that's probably what it is. Um, but that it just goes to show you like it looks so generic because it is. Like they clothed these characters using probably the same system that the player will use. Um, and it's just freakishly bland and lackluster.
And it looks so goddamn empty too. Like where everything they show about this game, especially in that 7-minute trailer, it just like there's like a house in the middle of nowhere with nothing around it where you're like fighting someone, and that's like one of the set pieces they used for their trailer. For the Welcome to Santa Elisa trailer, they used a house in the middle of like that's not showing anything. You really want to show off like the shack you designed that took 45 minutes to like draw a little house and then import all that stuff? Like it feels like if there is something good to this game, they haven't really shown it too much yet. But I think that the fact that they did a 7-minute long trailer and included some stuff that looks as cheap as it does and just is so bland and uninteresting probably tells me that this is a really bland and uninteresting game. Plus, it's the desert, so you don't have those big green rolling hills. You have like all these cactuses and shits. There's like landscape shots. The more I look at this, the funnier it gets because the landscape shots look like they're like 480p. It's like disgusting and covered in dirt. If you're excited for Saints Row, good for you. I think we're both kind of fans of Saints Row. I guess I dig
I
3
mean,
a little bit.
but like looking back on it, because I went back and like it was still probably like a year ago, but I booted up, I think it was Saints Row 4 and tried playing it. And like Saints Row 4 and Saints Row 3 especially were games of their time. Like they had the ridiculous humor. It was just craziness. But it was lighthearted fun. And when you look through some of these comments on the video and the trailers on YouTube, you see what some of these like diehard fans are saying. Like this guy James, he says, "quote The whole trailer just screams we're disconnected from the core player base. Good thing you United Saints 1 and 2 fans with the Saints 3 and 4 fans because both hate this, which I think is fair. Um, Characters you want to invite into your living room. Why would I want the cast from Grubhub commercials in my house?
That is kind of what they look
That is
like.
kind of what they look like. Yeah, it's so generic. Um,
Those
they
Grubhub
already said
commercials
the
suck.
classic humor won't be back. It's getting worse. My Saints Row 2 gang would slaughter these college kids. That's kind of the thing. Like I've noticed this a lot in big AAA games recently. And I think it's because like these all of these college students are graduating, getting jobs at these studios, so all of the concept art, all the character designs are coming from those kids. I say kids, but I'm the same age as them. Um, they all look the same, and they all look like hipster college students at a liberal arts or an art school. And that's just not how normal people dress or act. Um, like they at the one point in the trailer, the Santo Ileso trailer, where they show the shirtless guy, like, oh, they're in the house like cooking, and he's got his shirt off still, but he's baking. How funny is that? It's like
Wait, is
that's
that
not.
supposed to be funny?
I think it's supposed to be like, oh, he's the butch buff guy, but he likes baking. That's not God's way. And it's just
That's not God's
that's
way.
not
If
God's
they
way.
said that in this game, if that was one of the jokes, they go, "Look, he's shirtless and baking." That's not God's way. That'd be a fucking hilarious joke. I would
That would
love
be
that.
funny. But instead, it's just like I don't know. It's what happens when you have really unfunny people trying to be funny, but nobody tells them they aren't funny. And in this case, like they shed the Saints Row humor from like 3 and 4 of just being outrageous and um just like embracing all the weird eccentricities of the gaming community. Um it's just the whole thing is just baffling.
I've
Like
looked at
this
some
guy,
more of the
and
I don't think I can talk about this anymore. I think I'll pass out because
yeah, it's upsetting.
it genuinely just looks disgusting to me and like something I would never enjoy. But the thing is, these concept artists that because I think even Redfall, I'm kind of forgetting, but I can kind of picture the Redfall trailer having like characters in this style, kind of. But somehow Arcane was able to pull off. Oh, you know what? Now that I look at it, no, they actually have like character and fucking. They're actually like put together characters that look cool.
But like look at this. Jess Nunez. I didn't I didn't hear this bit in the trailer or I didn't remember it. So quote, the characters, this is from the trailer. The guy says this. Quote, the characters are relatable, but I wouldn't do what they do to pay down a student loan. So they're like, did he just admit that the Saints are just college students? What the fuck?
I
Like,
hate that.
so I'm not joking. I think what they are doing here is they made a game. They redid Saints Row, but this time where you're playing as college students, recent college grads that want to pay down their student loans, and to do that they create a criminal enterprise where they go like super goofy and bake without their shirts on.
That concept sounds really fun to me. If this is their exact execution for it, like if there isn't something big in this game that like can really pull you in, because I like that concept a lot. That's kind of fun. That's like it's like a Walter White kind of thing. It's like I've got to pay my student loans, Jesse. If I pay my student, help me pay my student loans by starting this criminal empire where I blow people up.
But like
Like
all it comes off as is like a bizarre pandering of trying to be like, we get the way the cool kids are. Everybody's got crazy outfits and some crappy tattoos and live together because they have student loans, and then they're charging you $60 for it. Like it just
give us
doesn't.
$60. You'll see. You'll
Yeah,
see.
we get your struggle. It's just I find it cringy as all get out. Um,
I'm ashamed that I compared it to Redfall because I went back and looked at the Redfall characters and they look fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like they're stylized. They have these awesome jackets. They look like they're in this like post-apocalyptic world. But they still have like a bit of color, like in each of their outfits. Like that's the way to do it. That has like a little bit of that like mix matched kind of style to it, and they're clearly able to pull that off far better. So I think it really is just a major swing and a miss, because I don't want to say like these fucking morons, because I kind of get what they were trying to do. And I haven't played it yet, but this
I
looks like shit. It looks
I
horrible.
I'll be real. I don't get it. I don't see what they were. I mean, I if what they're if what it looks like they're trying to do, which is college students paying off student loans by creating a goofy criminal enterprise, like you're trying to deal with a real world issue in a really silly way. Um, and you chose like to use characters
You chose to use stereotypical
that are,
like
yeah,
annoying
the
characters for
most
it.
cookie cutter stereotypical college student thing. And these college student archetypes nobody likes. Like
Yeah.
when we joke about awful college students that are all snowflakes and have never been out in the real world, we point to these characters and laugh at them. Like, and when I was in college, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I made fun of these people because they were all over campus and they needed a wake up call every once in a while to realize, like, oh no, it's like my life is not a walking Saints Row reboot. Um, so like if they flip this on its head, and maybe this is what they'll do, and it ends up being hilarious. It maybe what they do is like the game starts out like this, where all they're all like bubblegum cookie cutter college students, and then the game takes a turn, and they realize like, oh, well, wearing a crop top while trying to break into a bank is really dumb.
There's a lot of funny
So
stuff you could do with it, but judging by how they presented it, I just can't.
that's the thing. I think they presented it this way because they thought this was cool. And that's what
Which
worries
is really concerning. That's why there's so many ways to make this work. As far as confidence in these developers, I think we can probably all agree they're really, really capable. Writing staff wise, like they're clearly talented people to be able to to be able to put together a video game in the first place. However, this in terms of presentation just looks like a lost cause.
for me, I think at its core, Saints Row has been known for self-awareness, knowing what it is and what it isn't, and teasing itself for what it is. And that's part of what people love about Saints Row is that it's so genuine in that way. But this comes off as totally non self-aware. Like the fact that they put these characters up and present them as though they're cool or likable or charismatic. Like, no, these are the cringy people you don't invite over to your house because they just want to show you their abs. Like, these are not the people you want to hang out with. These are cringy college students. And the fact that they don't seem to be aware of that is what I think is most concerning. Because, like I said, if they were aware of it and they dealt with it, and then, they end up, they've got like the really cringy college student, and then he turns the corner while we're trying to rob a bank in the trailer, and he just gets shot in the forehead and he drops dead.
Yeah, like I think we're on like the exact same page, because that's exactly what I was picturing, where it's like it starts out like the introduction of the game is like it presents it in that kind of goofy college kid way, and then it just turns to shit really quickly, and they're like getting torn apart, and like the rest of the game is like they're getting hunted down by like a gang or something, and they have to build up this empire to not only pay off our student loans but to not die. So then the stakes are higher than having to pay your student loans, which, as the stakes for a game, even though I kind of like that premise, those stakes aren't very high, because a lot of people have student loan debt, and
Yeah.
they didn't kill anybody. They made do. They got jobs.
Well, it'll really make me wonder they had them get the, if that's true and that is actually what's going on, it'll be really interesting to see what their degrees were in. Because if they end up, like, the realistic thing is if you go to college and you get student loans, as long as you got a degree in something that like was usable
Crab
and
fishing, for
workable,
instance.
like you can get a job and do something with it. But it's when you study, like, I actually, not joking, I knew somebody that got a bachelor's degree and majored in romantic Spanish literature.
Oh.
Shockingly, he doesn't have a job.
No!
Yeah,
No!
he just went back to school, because this is the cycle that it happens, and this is not slightly beside the point, but I'll just say it. This is part of how this happens. As long as you're in school more than like the 6 hour minimum in the States, at least for full time, and you qualify as a full time student, you don't have to pay your student loans. So they just get deferred out. A lot of the time, they still accrue interest, but you don't have to make active payments on it as long as you're a full time student. So there are some people where it's basically their career to just go to college and stay getting like PhDs and master's degrees in nonsensical stuff that's super easy to get, because at least they don't have to make those student loan payments. But as time goes by, they get more loans, those previous loans accrue interest, and eventually they get to the point where they have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And I know what you're thinking. Why on earth would the Fed, or why on earth would the lenders keep giving them money? And it's because the federal government backs those loans. So if you default on them, the Fed is there to basically smooth things over. And what's even worse is, like, those loans don't disappear even when you die. Like, it's crazy. So the idea that student loan debt forces people to do crazy things, sure. But this is a really weird way of doing it. And it just comes off to me, this is the last thing I'll say on it. It just comes off to me as like when you have a bunch of college students just got out, they've got their student loans, just got their new job at Volition, and they're like, yeah, we should make a game talking about our struggle and our experience, because our truth is all about this struggle. We could flip it on its head, so you'd like do all the Saints Row stuff, but you do it because you're dealing with the same problems we struggle with. And everyone's like, that's so cool. I love that. And then they put this together with themselves as the main characters, totally unself-aware that the rest of the world hates them. And it's just disappointing, because I think everybody was hyped up when they heard Saints Row was going to be getting a reboot. This is not the kind of reboot we were hoping for, but they're apparently sticking to their guns. They refuse to make changes or apologize that people aren't satisfied with the direction it's going. And a lot of the comments from the developers have been just making things, like, honestly worse.
Let your work speak for itself, game developers, because chances are, if you are able to do that shit, you're pretty damn smart and talented. Don't feel like you have to defend yourselves to us. Let your work speak for yourselves if you don't like what people are saying about your stuff. Because, good God, are there some good games that come out that people thought would be absolute trash and garbage. Like, and there's some horrible games that came out that people thought were going to be incredible. Just let your work speak for itself. In this instance, developers, if you win in this battle, if we all like the game, we'll be like, I can't, but of course, we're gonna be put on the spot a little bit if this turns out to be a good game, and we'll be like, yeah, we were super surprised, we thought it was gonna be garbage. But if it's bad, we become more powerful, and then you'll never be able to stop us, Saints Row. You'll never be able to stop us. So let your work speak for itself, Saints Row. But I think
You
that
have
just about
3
wraps
days.
it up.
You have to put a time limit on. You have 3 days.
You have
For
3
what?
days.
I don't know. But you have
For
3 days.
when I'm done waiting is what. Well, I don't think I've ever talked about shit for so long without, vomiting or
I'm a big
cursing
fan of
multiple
Taco
times.
Bell. The
Hey,
last couple things to like round up all of this with, of course, Gamescom happened this week.
who gives?
Nothing really
Who
amazing. They
cares?
showed off Death Stranding, director's cut. They did some quality of life stuff, like you can reload boss fights, um, to play through them multiple times.
Oh, okay.
Okay, like cool.
I like that
They
feature.
well, they have like time trials now too, so they're gonna race. They have races where you can race your friends.
Okay, that's little fun
Um,
stuff. I like that.
little fun stuff like that. And then they have like a new sort of jetpack hover mechanic, and then they have it
Oh, I
so the
hate that.
motorcycle can like go over a jump and launch super far. Um, they also added stealth. So it's like straight up just Metal Gear Solid 5,
I
but
love that game. This sounds like a good addition.
yeah, well, it's funny because in the trailer they showed for it, they show Sam crouching, walking behind like a metal fence that's like probably about just a little above waist height. But he's crouching and walking, and he has tons of packages on his back for a delivery because they're still in the context of delivery missions. So you're like sneaking past all these enemies to deliver the package, but you see him crouching and walking, and then the gates here or the fences here, and his packages go way up above it, but he still counts as being in stealth because his body is beneath the line of sight.
Just more
Even though,
moving
like, if you were the
packages.
guard, yeah, you would just see like the fence, and then so it doesn't make a lot of sense, but
That's pretty great.
whatever. Um, it's fine. It was Jeff Keighley's final, like, just one more thing, which I found really underwhelming.
Thanks, God,
Whatever.
Jeff Keighley. Is that the guy we wanted to be the Dorito Pope? Is that the same guy? I always forget.
Honestly
I
don't
think
know.
it was Jeff Keighley. Who hosts the Game Awards?
That's Jeff Keighley, yeah.
Okay, he did a video where he's like with a bunch of Doritos and Mountain Dew products or something. And then Doritos asked him, they're like, hey man, do you want to, like at the Game Awards, be the Dorito Pope? Like go out as the Dorito Pope on stage. Like we'll pay you for it. And he was like, no, that's kind of offensive to religion. And so I think I just learned about this the other day.
I would
We
do
need
that.
to make that happen because Dorito Pope is the greatest term ever. I love that image in my head.
Maybe for the Game Awards, we'll live stream it. We should all dress up as Dorito Popes.
I could do that. I know a few. I know a few people. Get us some Pope garbs, and I know a few people over at Doritos.
Yeah.
So
It's well, the whole thing, so all of Gamescom, I've been very critical of Jeff Keighley before. I just think he's done a lot of good stuff for the industry, but as a presenter, I think he is objectively bad. Like
yeah,
I've never heard someone defend, like, look at his stage presence. He doesn't have any. Like his whole thing is that he holds the microphone. And my friend Hideo Kojima, I love him very much. We jerk each other off before every show.
yes, yes,
Like,
yes.
and the whole thing is about, it's such like, and I'm a YouTuber saying this, it's such an ego trip. Again, YouTuber saying this.
Add a slide whistle to that in editing.
And like, so he finishes the announcement after being like he's friends with Kojima. They show the little trailer. And then he finishes it, and I will also be in Disney's haunted house, whatever. I think it's a movie or something. And he showed like a screenshot of his face in the film or whatever it's supposed to be, and he's like, "It's a dream come true. I'm so happy about it."
Oh God, what a dick.
Anyway, thank you for watching the Gamescom. I was like, what the hell did that
Dorito
have to do
Pope.
with anything?
Dorito Pope.
Like,
Who gives a fuck?
it was purely about he wanted to brag that he was in something, and the only reason he's in it is probably because they said you have to tell everyone you're in it at one of your events like Gamescom,
Oh God.
because it'll be free advertising for us. But who is like, you know what? I wasn't gonna go see the Disney haunted whatever.
But
Jeff
that
Keighley.
fucker Jeff Keighley's in it, and now I'm so he's like the Dwayne the Rock Johnson for gamers.
But Dwayne The Rock Johnson is like talented.
Whoa!
Like Jeff Keighley's done amazing things because he has TV connections and he's worked very hard to legitimize gaming. And we do owe him a debt of gratitude for that. I've said it before, I'll say it again. He's done great things with that. Game Awards alone, he deserves credit for. He should not host the Game Awards. He's bad at it.
Kevin Hart should host the Game Awards.
Kevin, or what they did before at E3. When we were at E3, all of Jeff Keighley's like presentations that he did, and the moderate, it wasn't even moderation, but like it was like the Todd Howard, Elon Musk discussion panel thing, where he was the host, even though he didn't do anything. He just sat there. He just wanted to be around Elon Musk and Todd Howard, and he actively detracted from the quality of the panel, from the discussion. Whereas like right before that, we were sitting in the auditorium right there, and Troy Baker came in and he offered his, fantastic charismatic abilities and talents, and he went up there and he hosted this discussion between multiple actors and did a fantastic job. And right afterwards, all the guys I went to E3 with, everybody that was sitting next to me that we met there, everyone was like, why can't he host all of the panels and stuff? He is so much better. And that's the thing. I think Jeff should treat it like the Oscars or Golden Globes. Have a gaming veteran or an actor or something come in and host it. Like, I get it. It's an ego trip for him. He loves it. It makes him rock hard. But like, he's just not good at it. And he's got to at some point accept it. But I mean, people keep watching it, even though he's ridiculously cringy. But
no one watches it for
also,
Jeff Keighley.
Like, yeah, maybe we should call him Jeff Keighley.
Keighley? Jeff Keighley? I don't know. He said no to Dorito Pope. I'm pretty sure he'd say no pretty quick to that idea. I mean, Doritos was offering him money.
He doesn't have to say yes. Jeff Keighley.
Jeff Keighley. No, dude, he'll throw a big hissy fit. Did you hear that one time? He was backstage at the Game Awards. They sent out that dude that played Kratos, and he needed a diaper change really bad, but there was no one around to give him a diaper.
I was like, I didn't hear this story. What is it?
That's the most juvenile thing.
They went poopy in his panties.
But yeah, he needed a diaper change.
Well, and also at Gamescom, the show was fine. There was a lot of kind of lackluster stuff. And then we got towards the end of the show, and he showed like 2 back-to-back mobile games.
Oh, thank God.
Nobody gives a crap about, because I'm sure they paid pretty well to be shown. And then he went into Death Stranding Director's Cut. And everyone was just like, what?
It was pretty uneventful, I think is the best way to put it.
I don't know. The more time goes by, I'm just baffled that people still let Jeff Keighley do stuff.
He's got a talent for networking and not much else. And I wish he would realize that.
He got his start in TV, and in TV, he has connections, and he can say like, oh, let me call up the producer at whatever, and we have advertising. Really, what it comes down to is he has advertising contacts, so he knows the people to call to get Dorito Pope sponsorships. And for something like the Game Awards, that's what you have to have. That's the reason no other Game Award has gotten anywhere close to those, because the Game Awards have the money, and when you have the money, you tend to get more viewership because more companies come out, and so it's just this feedback loop. And for him, he left Spike. I think it was Spike. And then he started doing the Game Awards. I think it was 2014 was the first year. And he brought over those advertising contacts and turns it into a multi-million-dollar show. And that's why, like, in a directorial sense, he's really good. Maybe don't let him keep doing all of the music performances. But, like, in the sense that he can run the show, he's very good at it. In the sense that like he has to be on stage presenting the awards awkwardly, and then like fornicating with Kojima in backstage, like it's just he's not the guy.
He did do that.
He did do that.
I don't know.
Chef Key.
I think that he's definitely got talent. He definitely has his skill set. He's just kind of got to get out of that egotistical headspace, which for some people is very difficult. It's hard to say sometimes, like, oh, I would love to, because imagine you're 10 feet away, 20 feet away from Elon Musk and Todd Howard. Like they're right there, and it's like there's a third seat. Fuck, man. I want to go sit in that third seat and listen to what they have to say right up next to them. Of course, I feel for him that he's like, yeah, I want to be up there with them. And he's doing that for himself. But I feel like if most of us were in that position, we'd want to do that, but you have to have some constraint because it's not about you in that moment. It's about the people watching and the people talking. And
Well, and that's the thing is because he holds the chips, nobody can tell him that. So he's just going to keep doing it.
which is fun. It's not gonna
And
go. It's like he's not gonna get any legacy from that. It's like
yeah,
fucking build something. Start welding, Jeff Keighley. start doing shit. Make
with
bread.
that, we should
Actually
leave
make
it on
something.
that. Do something.
Yeah.
Go
For
welding.
God's sakes, go welding. Be a crab fisherman. Build houses. Like there are so many things you can do that are permanent. You sitting down on a couch near two very successful people is not one of them.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, Luke. We reached an hour. This was
Yeah.
our week with the least amount of news in a while. But Saints Row, the new Saints Row looked so bad. We were able to talk about it for maybe half an hour.
It was so bad.
Oh.
It's just, and then they got a bunch of, I mean, they started freaking out on social media. They're like, we're not backing down. We stand behind our vision. And everyone's like, it's a bad vision.
It's silly. It is silly in a bad way, which is silly is something I would always say about Saints Row in the most positive of lights. But this is, we're going to have to wait and see. We are definitely judging a book by its cover. And in this one particular case, the cover was handcrafted, painstakingly put together by the people that made the game, that made the book, or whatever the fuck. I completely lost the analogy. This is what they wanted to show, and people didn't like it, and they're saying, fuck the people. Wait and see. That's hey now.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show you what happens when you, like, their response and the way they're treating their fan base, their diehard fan base that really cares about Saints Row. It just shows you that they, I don't know, when you disrespect them to the point where you're calling them haters for bringing up like very valid points.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you made design choices that are pretty clearly bizarre. And this thing looks like such a bubblegum, lackluster, open world third person shooter. Like that
Takes me
might have
back to
been
the days
groundbreaking in
of
2007, but now,
takes me back to the days of Ghostbusters, Revolution 60, that kind of era where people couldn't quite accept that they didn't like the presentation of the product they were putting out. And so they start attributing different things to it. It's nowhere near on the scale of those two, especially not Ghostbusters 2016, because that was absolute insanity. The thing that always blows my mind about that one, though, is that it was really corporate from the beginning. It's Sony. Like, it was filled with product placement, Papa John's ads all over the place. This is, like, legitimately a team of people trying to make something, and it very well may be something incredibly stupid, but at least it's not like they're presenting it like this weird corporate product, but I don't think that's what it is. I think that's just what rubbed off on them.
Maybe this is all just like crappy marketing.
Yeah, which
Maybe that is.
You never know. Like, it's nowhere near as egregious as it could be. It's nowhere near as disgusting as it could be. But there's still time. It's not February yet. So they can either prove themselves or flop it.
Well, it's like we were saying just a little while ago, and then I'll shut up so that, we don't keep going and
So I can
start
go,
all over.
so I can go eat a burrito because I'm starved. Luke doesn't pay me enough so I can eat. I have to eat once a month. I eat one big burrito. Yeah.
But it's like we were saying, like, if the marketing team is the one responsible, and if it comes out that like, oh no, it is just like it's an outrageous, ridiculous story, and then we make fun of the hipster vibe by showing like the hipsters getting slaughtered because they cared more about their fashion sense than
Or show them
actually
overcoming the stereotype.
something like that. I don't think that's what they're gonna do though, because that's a big, big oopsie to just totally miss that in your announcement trailer. And that's like all the comments are just like, how did they not expect backlash from this? Like, this is so bleh. Nothing exciting about it. And then they start calling all the fans haters for calling them out on it. Come on. You make weird choices, but you can't go and like give smack down your fans for calling you out when something you did doesn't make sense. Um that's not what we do.
Oh, it should be said too, despite the dislike many of us have had for this game and its trailer, if at any point in time you feel like taking it out on the game developers or members of the project, shut the fuck up. Don't send them death threats, you stupid, stupid bitches. You're the people that do that are the reason why stuff like this gets blown out of proportion. So if you do that, go fuck yourself. You're a moron, a straight up moron.
The great thing about this is you really don't have to try hard to make the points in this case. This is so bizarre as like a game and as an announcement that you can call them out for it, and you don't need to be outrageous to make that point.
No death threats,
point to the
no
thing they did.
doxing. Just say, I don't like what I'm seeing here. That's all the feedback you need. You stupid bitches. Stupid bitches. But I think that just about wraps it up for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what that says? Clock wipe. We're still here. Time is ever moving, and we are ever grooving. Oh, we should probably say, too, in case anyone was wondering, if you made it this far and you also watched the Tuesday show, Cammy's dead.
That wasn't funny.
That's not true.
Cammy's dead.
She took ill. We're doing a little bit of a little break, and we'll get back to it when she's feeling better. She's not dead.
She's not dead. She is just recovering.
Under the weather, trying to get over it.
She'll be back with us very soon.
I think she might be back for this week's Tuesday show. I'm not sure. I probably should have asked her before I brought this up.
I'm not sure. She was doing a 10-day break.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I think we're close.
Fingers crossed. We miss you, Cammy. If you watch this whole thing.
Cammy. Shit, no, she closed out way.
Yeah, she's been checked out basically since we hired her. Gonna have to do something about that. I've made fun of my mother. I've made fun of Jeff Keighley. I've made fun of Keighley. I've made fun of people who give death threats, and I've made fun of our good friend Cammy. No one's safe in this abode.
Watch out.
Watch out. You think you're safe? Think again, gamer. It's not safe for you.
Game on.
Game on. All right, everyone. We'll see you later.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Luke Stevens. Game on.
Game on.